Hi and welcome to this experiment report video. I realized two experiments about the blob. One was to make it grow faster and to understand nutrition in blobs, and the other was to transform the blob into a sclerotium to understand and draw a diagram of the life cycle of the blob. Experiment 1. I realized that blob, when it doesn't have food nearby, make a web with veins. This web spread around the blob until it found food. When it is on the food, the shorter way between the blob and the food is kept, and all the other veins disappear. Once the blob is on the oatmeal, the food contracts. It happens at different speeds according to the food and to the blob's state. Further to this observation, we can wonder if the blob feeds on what is under it. So I imagined an experiment in which the food is just below the blob. For that, I put powdered oatmeal in the agar its wet surface. I put the blob on this agar and I didn't feed it. Less than 2 hours later, the blob doubled. Therefore, I can conclude that the blob feeds on what is under it. Experiment 2. My goal in this experiment was to view and illustrate the life cycle of the blob. Before we awake the blob, it was dry and dark orange. This form is called sclerotium. We put the sclerotium on the agar, we wet it, and we put food next to it. After this, we put the petri dish in a dark place during 24 hours with ambient temperature. So we created the ideal living conditions for the blob. This one woke up and grown faster and faster. Like being born again. For put the blob in a new petri dish, we need to split it in two. We can notice that the two parts survive, so blob can divide in other blobs. By putting two blobs side by side, we notice that they merge into one single blob. In getting older, the blob grows slower and slower and become orange. It also becomes more frail and moldy easier. It has two ways to protect itself. The first one is the sporulation. It happens to my blob. For that, little balls appear on the blob. The spores will be carried by the wine, and when the natural condition will be perfect, the spores will transform in other blobs, which will be young and energetic. The second way is a transformation in sclerotium. I tried it twice. For that, the blob becomes dry and orange. Like for sporulation, when the natural conditions will be perfect, the sclerotium will transform in a blob, which will be young and energetic. So, the blob is, in a way, immortal.